Hello everyone, welcome to the Find Your Adventure video number 2, which is all about family adventures. So lots of you voted when I did a couple of polls a little while ago around what you wanted to see for Find Your Adventure, and loads of people wanted really specific ideas for family adventures. So that's what we're going to do today. So we've been lucky enough to try loads and loads of adventures out with the family and with our friends' kids, and have learned some lessons along the way. So a few key things before I go into the specific adventures that you could try. Number one, my learning is that kids should always be involved in the planning of any adventure that you do. They love getting involved. They love having a look at a map. They love talking about where they want to go and what they want to do. Rather than dragging them along somewhere, get them involved in that planning. And it might be, if you're going on holiday, getting them to list a load of stuff that they want to do, or it might be getting them to look at a map and plan where they're going to go. So definitely, number one, get them to plan it with you. Number two, the most important critical parenting thing: food and drink. Take all the food and all the drink. Take all of it, all of it, all of it, because they will be bloody starving within about 3 seconds of leaving the house or wherever you are. So get all that food and drink, stuff it in a rucksack and take it with you. Number three, take spare clothes for all of you and shove them in the car or shove them in a rucksack or whatever, because no matter what happens, any good adventure ends up in you either getting a bit wet or a bit muddy or a bit mucky. So spare clothes are great to stop kids getting miserable and feeling a bit sad. Number four, a first aid kit is what I would always take on any adventure, just in case, because they fall over a lot, don't they? And I'd also take a rucksack, just an old bog standard rucksack with all your stuff in, with your food and your whatever. It's a good investment to have one of those. Number five, remember that pretty much everything can be done close to free. And if it can't, and you need some kit or a bike or some resources or whatever, quite often you can beg, borrow and steal those, or there are different organisations that will lend that kit out. So if I say about kit, don't panic. I'll give you a list in the comments about different places that you can go to get stuff for free. You can always blag it in the Find Your Flow community as well, because we're a lovely bunch. We'll lend stuff out in there. And finally, number six, which is probably the most important one for the environment: whenever you're on an adventure, leave no trace. Don't leave anything behind. Don't leave any litter. Don't burn any holes in the ground. Don't break down big branches of trees. Don't leave any tissue from loo stops on the floor. Make sure that you leave absolutely no trace on your adventures. So those are your kind of rules before we get into those specific adventures. So let's get into specifics, shall we? And these could be for most ages of kids, but you'll know your kids best and you'll know which ones to pick. So I'm going to put them into different sections, the adventures, and I have got notes because my memory's not great. So if they fall over the camera, I'm sorry about that. So first one is getting up high. So the first section is about adventures up high. Not a huge amount of kit needed for this, just some shoes you can walk in really, and some clothes that you can go outdoors in. So trees, hills, mountains, cairns, which are those like high trig points on hills, and viewpoints are some of our favourite places to go for adventures. And you might go, well, that's just a local walk, Joe, but actually there's loads of stuff you can do when you're up there. So you could use your OS map if you've got one, or your maps on your phone, to find as many cairns or local monuments or viewpoints or follies on top of hills that are in your local area, and do a bit of a challenge to climb up to as many of those as you can. And follies and things aren't particularly high normally, so they're good for little kids as well as big kids. See what you can see, and get your kids to navigate to them. So get your kids to use that OS map or use your phone map and get to them themselves, because they love that feeling of control and of helping on those types of things. If you are going to go to the top of a hill, it's a brilliant place to learn how to use a map and a compass together. So it's not actually that hard to read a map when you're up high, because you can see all of the landmarks around you. You can see the church that's marked on the map, and you can see the contour in the hill, and you can see that train line over there. So being up high is a really great place to start map reading, and kids love to be able to do that, and love to be able to see what they're looking at on the paper as well. And a compass, most phones have got a compass on now, or you can get an app with a compass on if you haven't got your own like blacky one. And there are tips on Google. Just Google compass reading and it will show you how to do it. Kids love to learn how to do stuff like that. Unless they're a miserable teenager, then don't go anywhere near them. So for arty families, if you're at the top of a hill or a high point or a mountain or wherever you are, You could sketch, you could take a little sketchbook up there, you could all take your notebooks up, do some sketching, do some painting, do some nature drawing with like mud and different materials that you've got up there. You could also, if your kid is addicted to their screen, you could teach them how to take panoramic photographs, you could teach them how to do time-lapse photography on top of a hill. So it doesn't all have to be just nature and pure, you can do some stuff that's technology up there as well, and that might encourage them. This is my favourite one. If you're at the top of a hill, sausage roll down the hill. Join in with the kids. Get muddy, get dizzy, get sick if that causes you to do that. Don't be scared. They love a sausage roll. I recently went with my friend's 15-year-old son, and he was still sausage rolling. So good effort to him. Up high, there are quite often things called geocaches, and I've talked about these in one of my other videos. So geocaches is like treasure hunting, but in an app. So you put geocaching in the app finder and you can use it. It's free for most of the functionality, which is totally usable. And people have hidden little boxes all over the world with little notebooks and pencils in, and you can log that you've been there. It's bloody brilliant for treasure hunting. And yes, it's screen time, but it's a great way to give kids a way to learn to navigate and a reward at the end of it. So geocaching is one of my favourite things to do with the kids. So we're done going up high. Let's go down low. So go down low. Again, not a huge amount of kit needed, maybe a little bit more, but lowest points are normally lakes, rivers, valleys, that type of thing, obviously on a map. Obvious activities for when you're down low near those kind of rivery places is swimming. So there's wild swimming guides, which are bloody brilliant, and I can't recommend enough, and I know I've recommended them before, but these books are about 10 to 15 quid, which sounds like a lot of money, but they've probably got 500 or 600 different locations, more than that, across the UK and in different areas. So you can get wild swimming Scotland, wild swimming Devon, all that kind of stuff. Where you can go and find safe entry points. It will give you the map to get there, and it will tell you how to be careful in that swimming spot. So that's brilliant, isn't it? Because when you've got kids with you, you don't want to be getting into a raging torrent or a river. So I would say if you're going to invest in anything, invest in a book like this. They've got all sorts of Wild Guides Scotland, and they're just brilliant for helping out. So swimming's number one. Stand up bloody paddleboarding, amazing. Now, not everyone's got a paddleboard, and that's fine, because again, you can beg, borrow and steal them, or you can rent them, or yeah, you can buy one if you want, but they're quite expensive. Stand-up paddleboarding is great because you can do it in really safe areas that are lifeguard patrolled. So there are beaches that are lifeguard patrolled, and when it's calm in the sea, that's great. Just take the local advice of the lifeguards. Lakes are really safe. Get yourself a buoyancy aid. You can be on the sup, and your kid can be on the front typically, because those sups are so amazing nowadays. So if you want to try stand-up paddleboarding, have a research into how to do it safely, but it is a brilliant sport. There are loads of lovely coaches out there, like Lynn from Ripple Rebels, who will be able to take you out as well if you want to do it with somebody else. Now, rivers, lakes, streams, ponds, we love building a dam. We love building a massive dam that stops the water temporarily and then taking it all down again. Kids who love that physical nature love a dam building. We love pond dipping. Just get yourself one of those simple nets that you get for about £2 down the beach and a bucket. And see what pond life is in there. There's some incredible stuff in ponds and rock pools that you can see. Just make sure you always put it back in the same place you got it from and all that kind of stuff. Crossing a river, maybe using a rope. So you might go across a stream that's a little bit deeper than your knees or whatever, and you might want to throw a rope across and everyone guide each other across. Crossing a stream and find out what's on the other side is so bloody adventurous, and kids love doing that. Next one, raft building. So this is where you need a bit of resources. So you might save up your old plastic milk bottles or any other floaty things. You might have a local garage near you that's got old drums or whatever. Again, on Gumtree is a brilliant place to find this type of thing. Get yourself a bit of rope, some of those drums, some floaty bits of sticks, some boxes, some whatever. Take them down to a safe part of the river or a lake and raft build. Kids love it. We will all fall in. We will possibly be close to death, but they love it. So just think about water safety and get them in raft building. It's a bloody brilliant thing to do. We don't do enough of that. You can do a river safari. Now, my last Find Your Adventure video, which is still in the group, was river safari, and that tells you how to do that safely in about an 8-minute video. So river safari is great, going from one point to another in a river, and that could be 50 metres long. Doesn't have to be far at all, or it could be a kilometre. But with kids, do a nice little short safari because they love a little journey. Other one that we've done recently is build mini boats. So we've built things out of cardboard or wood or paper or old plastic containers and stuff, and we've floated them down the river near us or out onto the sea. Obviously, don't leave a trace, collect it when you finish, but kids love that sort of stuff. So we've gone high, we've gone low. Now let's go coastal, because selfishly, that's my favourite place to go. So to make it an adventure, you can travel there in a different way. So you could walk to the beach. If you're lucky enough to live near one, you could run, you can ride a bike, or you could get a train to the beach or a bus. Making it a bit of a journey to get there in a different way is a lovely thing for kids to do. When you're there, you could get a bit arty on it. So you could make some sand sculptures. They could make their favourite Pokemon, or they could make a Ferrari out of the sand, or whatever they're into right now, they can make that in the sand. They could also do some of this sand art. I don't know if you've seen Mark Trina. Look him up, I'll put his link in as well. He is this incredible artist that uses big rakes, and then he takes photos from above of all this incredible artwork, so mandalas and pictures of cities and all that kind of stuff. So they can do their own mini version of that using stones or their spades and stuff to make those patterns in the sand. And then a tall person or an adult could take a photo from above and record it for them. They're great. You could also get them to make their ideal island in the sand. So once you've taken that amazing journey to the beach, get them to make their ideal island that they'd like to live on. Would they have a theme park on it? Would they have a swimming pool? Would they have a whatever? And they can get creative with those. We love building a racetrack in the sand. So we'll make a massive racetrack and we'll do different races around it. It might be hopping, it might be skipping, it might be running, it might be going backwards, whatever, but it's a nice adventure once you get to the beach. We love a bit of rockpool roving. So we love beaches that have got rock pools and big sets of rock, because you can do a bit of parkour off them. You can look in the rock pools, you can find out what's in there, you can photograph them, you can find the biggest rock pool, the smallest rock pool, you can step in them and see what the temperature difference is between the sea and the rock pool. So there's loads of cool stuff that you can do around rock pools. So yeah, another top tip. Then you can, lots of our beaches in the UK are rocky. Or fossily. So you can build these lovely rock sculptures, can't you? See who can build the highest rock sculpture on the beach, the highest amount of stones in a tower. You could go and search for fossils, and funnily enough, because they were made over millions of years and there were millions of them, there's still loads of them on the beach to find. So have a bit of a Google, find out where those good beaches are for fossils and go and hunt some fossils. It's bloody brilliant. We were really lucky recently and went to Scotland and went to one of the beaches on the west coast. My God, it was like the Maldives, but a bit chillier. And we found this massive sand dune, and we were doing races up and down the sand dune. We were sausage rolling down it, we were parkouring, we were forward rolling, we were doing time-lapse videos. So that took about an hour and a half of our day up in a very nice way, just with this one sand dune. It was bloody brilliant. We also did a beach swim safari, so we went from one beach to the next beach. We were still in our deck that was only up to about our hips really, and we took a tow float, an inflatable tow float with us just to be a bit safer, but just looping around some of the bays. Find somewhere safe to do that, or in a lifeguard patrol beach, and that is bloody brilliant. Make sure you've got warm clothes at the end and hot Ribena if you fancy it. Okay, so we have gone high, we've gone low, we've gone coastal. Now we're going nighttime and forest. So obvious nighttime adventures. You can go out in your garden or out in a neighbour's garden or a park or wherever and stargaze using an app. You can see the International Space Station at times as well. So those kind of things, they're all advertised on the internet and you can find out what's going on. Get out there and have a look. You could build a campfire safely. Be careful about that. And you can have ghost stories around the fire, read books around the fire. If you're not confident with a fire, get a small camp stove. Look at this bad boy. Now, look at him, he just folds out. We've had him for years and he's still going strong. He just folds out to make that thing that your pot can sit on top of, and it just pops itself into that gas canister like that. And you can switch it on, light it, and jobs are good, and you've got your camp stove. So all of that together was about 20 quid. But we've had it for about 5 years. It's still going strong. Replace these every now and then, but yeah, all good. So when you've got one of those camp stoves, it becomes a bit safer than a fire, perhaps. You can make bread on a stick. So I'm going to put a recipe in the Find Your Flow group and in my newsletter for making really simple bread on a stick. So all you need is a green stick that's off a tree or something. Put the bread on it, almost like a kebab, and just they can put it over a camp stove or over a campfire and heat it up themselves, which is bloody lovely. You can make s'mores, so biscuits and marshmallows, heat the marshmallows, squidge them between the biscuits and they can eat those. You can get them to make their own hot chocolate. So kids love an adventure where they get to do something that's a bit adult. So you can get them a saucepan over the camp stove, they can heat their milk up or their water and put that instant hot chocolate in and make it themselves. And it's a nice way to teach them how to cook without them potentially exploding your kitchen because you're outdoors. You could also do some foraging before you get the camp stove out. So you could get some of that wild garlic that's around and you could rub it on your bread so you make some garlic bread. Or you could take it home and you can make some pesto with it. A bit more complicated, but still just as lovely. At night, we quite like to explore like forests and rivers. So we'll explore forests with torches because the shadows and things are bonkers when you get in there, and you get to see some really amazing animals as well. Or you could walk along a river, at the edge of a river, and shine your torch in the river, and you get to see some cool fish and some cool plants that are going on in there. So yeah, nighttime walking with a torch is a really good one. Okay, the other thing you could do, if you're feeling really brave, is wild camp overnight. So you could wild camp, and I've got a video coming up probably in about a month's time, which is all top tips on how to actually wild camp safely, and if you're feeling a bit worried about that. So have a look at that one. But wild camping is pretty safe in the UK, and it is really good fun to do, especially with friends and family. Okay, the other bit of foraging that I forgot to mention was, in autumn, you can forage for sloes. Get the kids to pick a load of sloe berries, and then you can make them into sloe gin when you get home. Don't tell the children that's what they've picked them for, and don't let them eat them because it might make them feel a bit sick. But yeah, foraging is a great one. Just be really careful about the old poisonous plants and stuff. But things like wild garlic and sloes are pretty safe. We love building a shelter. Now, if it's winter and there's no leaves around and stuff on the trees, you can buy a tarp, one of these tarpaulins. It's like a waterproof sheet. And you can get those about 3 metres by 3 metres is good. And you can build a tented shelter, or you can build like a parachute shelter. You can use it to sit on the floor for a picnic rug. You can use it as a slip and slide by putting water on it in the summer. So building some shelters and some cool stuff out of a tarp's really good fun. You can use it as a beach shelter as well if it gets windy and rainy. Or you could use sticks and trees and branches and stuff if it's summer to cover over a shelter and sit in there and have some food, which is good fun. Okay, so we've done high, we've done low, we've done coastal, we've done nighttime. We're now on adventures on bikes, speeding through them so that we can get them all in. This is quite a specific one, and one that tends to cost a bit of money because you either need to have a bike, rent one, or beg, borrow, or steal one from someone. But there are places that will lend kit out. So there's an amazing place that my friend Lynn told me about, who runs the Find Your Flow weekends with me. It's called the Water Sports Library. So it's not bikes, but it's close. And they've been donated loads of water sport kit, like canoes and kayaks and stand-up paddleboards and buoyancy aids. And you can go in there and you can rent it out like a library and take it back the next day. And it's a nominal, it's like a few quid, it's nothing at all, which is absolutely brilliant for those of us who just can't afford to go and buy our own kit like that. And the same with bikes. If you go to a BMX track, quite often BMX clubs will lend out bikes to beginners or for people who want to try it for a go, and they'll rent them out then in the future to them for a really low amount of money. So it's not impossible to do it for free. So, 1, adventure on a bike. Ride your bike to a train station and then get the train back. So if you've got tiny little kids, they can ride a couple of miles, which might nearly kill them, and then you can get a train back, which always feels really satisfying. Some buses will let you take bikes on as well now, so you could do a bike out and a bus back. Pump tracks are brilliant resources because there are loads of them are built in cities nowadays, particularly in deprived areas, which is really bloody brilliant because those kids need them. And it's like a mini BMX track with little rolly jumps and nice turns and stuff. Again, beg, borrow, steal a bike and get down there. It's so much fun for everyone, and make sure you do it yourself as well. Like I said, there's BMX tracks, but there are also these amazing cycle centres. Now, some of them are out in the sticks a bit, so you might need to get a lift to get there, but these cycle centres with green trails, so these are family trails, green trails, and they tend to be relatively flat on nice open fire roads, not too difficult. And then if you fancy it for a browse on the black and the red trails afterwards to have a load of jumps and hit some turns and stuff, they've got a bit of something for everyone, which is brilliant. And again, they're free. You might have to pay for parking, but all of it's free, which is bloody brilliant. And then the absolute treat of the UK is the UK Cycle Path Network. It's amazing. We live near the Bristol to Bath cycle path, which is 17 miles each way, so you could do an absolute beast of a journey if you wanted to. And there tend to be a lot of them on old railway tracks and stuff, so they're quite flat, which is brilliant for kids. Take a picnic, take binoculars, take your pond dipping kit, take whatever, and get yourself out on those cycle paths. They are brilliant. Okay, so we've done high, we've done low, we've done coastal, we've done nighttime, we've done bikes, we're now doing eco adventures. So there's so many things you can do that are eco actually out of that list that I've just talked about. Loads of those are eco things, but there are things that you can do to positively impact the environment as well as just not impact it with your activities. So there are loads of organised beach cleans, or you could go and do a beach clean yourself. They've often got litter pickers by the beach, those thingies, the grabby things, you know what I mean, by the beach, and they'll just lend them out to you, and they'll have bags there, and you can do like a 2-minute beach clean and pick up as much as you can, which is a brilliant impact on the environment. You can plant a tree. There are loads of local organisations that will allow you to go along and plant a tree, or they'll give you acorns and seeds and things that you can plant and keep at home. So doing that kind of thing, it can help us teach our kids about the environment as well. You can do a local litter pick, so you could organise everyone in your road to do that. You could go and do the local park or the nature reserve or the local playground or whatever you've got. Doing that litter pick is really good for kids' awareness, and it gets them out of the house. And the final one is like a nature observation. So loads of local organisations will do something where they want to observe the butterflies or the newts or the birds in the area. And they give kids a tick list, and they can do that over a couple of weeks at home or in the park or wherever. And they are inputting to our conservation effort in the countryside as well, which is bloody brilliant. Okay, so we've done all those. We've done about 50 adventures so far. Next one, probably you're familiar with loads of these, but these ones are the ones we forget about, I think, sometimes, and they are the classics. So old school games that we played while we were on holiday in Scotland. We played with a boomerang. It was ridiculous amounts of fun, and you could do it anywhere. We played with those Diablo things, you know, the string on 2 sticks, and then it's got like a cotton reel in the middle that you can throw up and down. You can take those types of old school games and frisbees and things on a picnic or a walk, and it just livens it up and turns it into a bit of an adventure. So you don't have to go miles. You can go on a local walk, have a picnic, and then do a bit of boomerang throwing, and you've had an adventure. I love a Nerf gun fight in the woods, or a spud gun fight if you're an old traditionalist like me. Bloody brilliant fun with any age of kid, and adults love that sort of thing. Cheaper than paintball and a bit safer. We love a bit of hide and seek. We love treasure hunts. We love leapfrog on the beach in Scotland. Bloody amazing. And we love a bit of tag. So don't underestimate how old kids can be and still enjoy those things. And it means you don't really have to go anywhere special. You can just go somewhere, and it's a game, and it's an adventure, and it's being outdoors. So we've whistle-stop tour through that, but that's okay because we're 20 minutes in. So last thing is about paid for adventures, because I know some people will want to save up a bit of cash and go and do some paid for adventures. So the ones that we've had to go at over the last few years that we've really, really enjoyed and think are quite good for getting you out there in nature are things like Go Ape. So we did Go Ape in Scotland, but we didn't do Go Ape. We found the local forestry one, which was about half the price of Go Ape. Go Ape is amazing, but it was about half the price of Go Ape. So we managed to do that a couple of times because we found a half price one. And it is just brilliant for physical skills, for teamwork, for problem solving. And then we did some kayaking as well. So we rented some kayaks and went down the River Wye. Again, a brilliant family adventure because you're going from point A to point B, and you can see Simmons, and all these amazing things from a viewpoint you wouldn't normally get. Then we've tried out zip lines, and we're hoping to go to the zip line in Snowdon as well. Those big long ones, and they quite often have trampoline parks and stuff in. Again, a different viewpoint on the world is really important, and I think those things give them. And the last one is climbing. So you could do indoor climbing, bit of bouldering, whatever, without any ropes, any hassles. You don't need any kit. And that can be done quite cheaply in local climbing centres, so you could go out on the rock itself. But those are decent paid for opportunities to get out there and get in touch with nature a little bit. So that's the whistle-stop tour of about 1 million different adventures you could try. Loads of them you'll know already, but hopefully there's been some that are inspirational in there for you. If you would like to get involved in Find Your Adventure and help me out a little bit, I've got a challenge for you. I'm looking for somebody, preferably a female skateboarder, who could take me and my friend Lila out and give us a bash at skateboarding adventures, because we really want to do it, but we're really scared and we look really silly, but we don't mind looking silly, we just want to have a go. So if any of you are skateboarders, let us know. And if any of you have got any ideas for things you want us to try out, or you'd like to try with us, let us know, and we will just publish those as video and give everyone a little bit of joy and a little bit of ideas. So thank you very much for coming along and watching. Have a lovely week, and I shall see you again soon. Enjoy those adventures and let us know how you get on.